Hello, you're watching Vox Evening News from London. I'm Kesha Gitari. Now our top stories tonight. Suicide bombers attack 2 camps for displaced people in Nigeria's northeast. Kenya's presidential debate is underway. And leaders in HIV and AIDS science meet in Paris. Nigerian officials say suicide bombers have attacked 2 camps for displaced people near the northeastern city of Maiduguri. At least 4 people were killed, with nearly 20 others injured. The attacks were carried out late on Sunday and early Monday. At least one of the bombers is reported to have been a woman. Tens of thousands of people are living in the camps after being forced from their homes by the militant Islamist group Boko Haram. Nigeria has released a photograph of President Muhammadu Buhari on Sunday, the first in almost 3 months since he left the country on May 7th for medical leave in Britain. The presidency's decision to not release images of Mr. Buhari during his current medical leave until now has sparked speculation ranging from his ability to contest in the 2019 election for a second term to his death. The president is on his 2nd medical leave this year, being treated for an undisclosed ailment in London. Militiamen in the Central African Republic have attacked United Nations peacekeepers who were protecting a convoy of water trucks. 1 Moroccan UN soldier has been killed and 3 others injured. The attack took place in the southern diamond mining town of Bangassou on Sunday. The incident comes after attacks on the same diamond mining town in May that killed at least 115 people. Fighters from the same group launched a foiled attack on Friday in the town's cathedral that is housing hundreds of displaced Muslims who have been sheltering there since the killings in May. Thousands have died in the conflict that broke out when mainly Seleka rebels ousted former President Francois Bozize 4 years ago, provoking a backlash from anti-Seleka militants. Kenya's presidential debate has kicked off just moments ago in the capital, Nairobi. There has been some speculation as to whether all 8 candidates would turn up. Last week, only 1 candidate turned up for the vice presidential debates. Opinion polls released over the weekend suggest a tight race ahead, with President Kenyatta and his rival Raila Odinga at almost neck and neck in the polls. On Friday, President Kenyatta held a rally in Nairobi where Deputy President William Ruto addressed supporters.
If we win this election, there are enough positions in the Jubilee government. There is no need to divide our votes until we lose the Nairobi governor's seat. Because we care about the people of Nairobi County, people who were connected to electricity in 2013 were 600,000. Today, after 5 years of Jubilee government, people who are connected to electricity in Nairobi are 1,800,000.
Campaigning for Angola's legislative election began over the weekend, with just a month to go before voters head to the polls on August 23rd. The 2017 elections are going ahead without President Eduardo José dos Santos, who announced earlier this year that he would not be seeking re-election, bringing an end to his 38-year rule. The main opposition party, UNITA, are calling for a regime change. Rafael Savimbi, son of the late Angolan rebel leader Jonas Savimbi, and High Representative of the opposition party, UNITA, said that the Angolan people were hoping for peace first.
During the past 12-15 years, people needed to be given hope. There needed to be a remobilizing of troops, as we say. It's something that wasn't easy, but we needed to give it time so that people could better understand the fight of UNITA. The whole world has concluded that, unfortunately, our government did not have the most appropriate vision of power. After oil, Angola will have to take another route. That is why, being young, being Angolan, I tell myself, no, I must engage politically so that I too can give my modest contribution for the country to change.
Still in southern Africa, Zambia's governing party, the Patriotic Front, could face controversy following its adoption of current President Edgar Lungu as the sole candidate for the 2021 general elections. The PF's top decision-making body made the decision at the weekend. Critics argue that the president does not constitutionally qualify to stand again after completing the term of the late president, Michael Sata, and then being elected on a full 5-year mandate last year. The matter is already in court as the Zambian constitution does not allow a candidate to serve 3 terms. Supporters for Mr. Lungu's candidacy, argue that his first term should not count as it was not a full 5 years. More than 6,000 scientists will gather in Paris until Wednesday to assess advances in AIDS science amid significant funding concerns. Leaders in the fight against HIV have urged the American government, which is the largest donor to global AIDS research and treatment, to stop funding cuts proposed by President Donald Trump. Globally, government donor funding for HIV dropped last year to the lowest level since 2010, from $7.5 billion in 2015 to $7 billion. The United States has for years been the biggest contributor by far to the global fight against HIV infection, accounting for about 2/3 of funding by governments. The 9th International AIDS Conference on HIV Science opened in Paris on Sunday.
Some major government donors are either calling for or considering substantive cuts to scientific research and program funding. As we gather today, the largest and most important global donor in the HIV response has threatened devastating cuts to funding for research and treatment programs. These onslaughts on funding, principles, and programs have already begun to erode the gains we have so painstakingly made. If we are not actively moving forward on the HIV response, then we are sliding back. Sliding back means sick patients, lost lives, ongoing transmission, and infected children, a world we do not want to go back to.
We are breaking the backbone of this epidemic, and it is a moment we should never let go. It is a moment for winning. It is not the moment for losing. If we don't continue to have the necessary funding, I think the most vulnerable will suffer.
And a 9-year-old South African child diagnosed with HIV when he was just a month old has been in remission for 8.5 years without regular treatment. He's the first reported case of a child controlling HIV infection without drugs in Africa, and the 3rd known case globally. Soon after diagnosis, he was placed on antiretroviral treatment for 40 weeks, which was then stopped and his health monitored. Blood tests in late 2015 revealed the levels of the virus in his blood are undetectable using standard tests, confirming that he is in remission. Now, in Cameroon, the All In project was launched 2 years ago to fight the prevalence of HIV among young people. Community-based associations supported by UNICEF mobilized the youth, health and education departments to provide a local response, which includes screening pregnant women to prevent mother-to-child transmission of HIV. 2 hospitals in the capital, Yaoundé, have been equipped with point-of-care early infant diagnosis testing devices for infants, which allows patients born from HIV-positive mothers to be diagnosed in less than an hour.
It takes about a week before we send them to the reference laboratory. And then in the reference laboratory, it takes about 1 to 2 months before we can have a result. But for now, it's within an hour that our patients have their results. And you see the mothers going home smiling.
It takes a lot of stress away, compared to the results at 6 weeks, because then one had to wait a month, and every day you're wondering, Wait, what's going to happen? There is guilt. You even wonder, maybe I shouldn't have had this child at all. So every day for a month, really you don't sleep well.
With the early screening, we are sure to keep this child. This child won't have any after effects. This child is going to develop and high growth won't be stunted.
In South Africa, male circumcision ritual is revered by the Xhosa people, but growing concern surrounding the practices of the initiation schools is taking its toll, as the government says several hundreds of boys have died nationwide in initiation schools since 1995. Let's find out more in our next report.
It's a winter morning outside the town of Mthatha in South Africa's Eastern Cape. Fezikaya Tselane and Kanyisile Mapope are playing cards to help pass the time healing. They recently began their journey to manhood, a rite of passage among ethnic Xhosas that includes ritual circumcision.
I've been thinking of this since I was a child, seeing my older brothers being initiates. And there was no way I could stay a boy on my own.
Families appoint a bush doctor who is responsible for the well-being and recovery of the initiates post-circumcision.
If you go to the hospital, you're not a Xhosa man, because in our culture, we're not allowed to use pills or any injections, you see. You have to use that leaf until you are proper healed. That leaf works pretty well with that sore.
Since 1995, some several hundred initiates have died after undergoing ritual circumcisions. Health officials are concerned about illegal doctors and boys being pushed into manhood at too young an age.
It must be only the one who is 18 years of age who must go into the initiation school. But you'll find out now there are still those boys, young boys who are 13, 15, who decide to go without the permission of their parents.
But Fezikaya, 20 years old and doing well in recovery, is excited about the future and the new status he has acquired in his community.
As a boy, you get up to mischief. You're only taken seriously once initiated. Some are even regarded as criminals, but once you're initiated, you learn how to become an adult.
By experiencing the painful and potentially fatal ordeal, Fezikaya and Kanyisile will prove themselves as men, making them eligible for marriage and other rights of adulthood.
Now we're heading into a short break, but still to come on this evening's program. A missing Burundian journalist, Jean Bigirimana, is remembered 1 year on. Rhino poaching is on the decline in South Africa. And Ivory Coast's Magic System celebrate 20 years together.